Hello and welcome to yet another episode of The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. I have with me today my friend, fitness mentor for the past 2 days, Greg Menegus. Greg, how's it going?
It's going great. Great to be here.
All right. So usually what we do on the podcast, because there's only been 4 episodes, is there's just going to ask you some questions and let it roll and see what we get.
Let's go. I'm the best.
All right. So you are the owner of Total Fitness 360. Is that the name of it?
That is correct.
Okay. And where can people find that information?
We're on Instagram right now at Total Fitness 360_online. We're developing a website right now, which is going to be the bomb, coming up probably in about 4 months. But in the interim, go to Instagram, and we're posting stuff pretty much every day.
All right. Thanks. Can you describe, what really draws me to you, like your fitness, is I've never done anything like it. It seems to be, my take on it is a lot of body weight, but there's like some, like you use like kettlebells and stuff like that. Like how do you describe your style of like training?
If I could describe it in 2 words, it would probably be functional fitness, and that's thrown around a lot. But I'm a big believer in the body not getting comfortable, and the mind not getting comfortable. Basically, challenging yourself. It doesn't have to be with weight like the old meathead style, but we use maces and Indian clubs as you use today. PVC pipes filled with water, sandbags, kettlebells, ropes. Inertia wave bands, all kinds of things, just to challenge us and to do things like, as you know, from our Toshindo, to make sure that we're holding center and moving in a functional way, in a unified way. Mm-hmm. And that's basically how I would describe the training. It's just it can't be applied to other things functionally, we don't do it.
Okay, and so what differs in the results between that and the generic like bodybuilding?
Well, the generic lifts, and I was one of those guys. I was the meathead guy, in my late teens, 20s, 30s, and what I noticed was the joints and all start falling apart, and with the end all being how much weight can I lift and everything, or if the look is your way. Functionally, you start to lose yourself a little bit, and joint-wise, you lose yourself. Now, at 52 years old, somewhere around my mid-40s, I'm like, I just can't do this anymore, and I have to go to a different style of training, and it's an absolute love affair with me now because I get to program the things that I really like, get creative, and see, like a lot of the younger guys like yourself and the guys that showed today with us this morning. We were talking about this today. They're so far ahead of the game because they're getting the knowledge of my mistakes and all through the years and able to apply all this functional-based training and be functionally stronger than I could have ever been because, just the wide variety of exercise and movements and everything else and not getting stale. So the body doesn't break down on you. It kind of longs for more.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because we were talking about that today, how you were saying that if you had done this at my age, how much better off you would be.
Yeah, it's more of a feel. Like, and I'm not complaining or bitching at all. I'm still very functional and all, but some mornings I wake up and I'm like, boy, I feel all these 52 years. Mm. And then I start to move and warm up, and yeah, I'm back. I'm 20 years old again. But there's no need for that, really. You should be 52 years old, and if you're doing it the right way, you should do nothing but improve. Barring some horrific illness or something that you have, your body is just a machine. It's a machine that is longing to get better, more mobile, stronger, able to do things as long as it's in a progression.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and when you were saying that, like, talking about, like, joint like injuries and stuff like that, I can't tell you how many bodybuilders I used to follow that were like, oh, gotta go to the hospital and get the surgery for my knee, for my elbow, for my shoulder. Yeah. From year. I mean, these guys are jacked, but they're still, like, their joints are taking serious damage.
Yeah, and you got to think about it. one of my pleasures is just movement alone. Everyone's heard the saying, let the spirit move you. When you're truly moving in a fashion that is enjoyable, you watch an animal frolic like a dog or a deer or anything else. They're jumping around, moving around, and there's no set pattern necessarily. They're moving because of the pure joy of movement, and that's what I enjoy most now is when my body is freed up. It just feels like you're kind of floating and moving, and you don't know why or how. It's just happening.
Yeah, and that's one thing I like about Toshindo is that it's not a strength-based martial art. It's a movement and a free-flowing martial art.
It's a beautiful thing. It's I've trained professional fighters before, and they're all BJJ guys, and nothing bad about those guys, but it's all, if you're super strong or super fast, you can get away with making mistakes and everything else, but there's a limiting factor to that as well. As age creeps in, you're not necessarily going to be as strong, as mobile, as fast as some guy that's 30 years younger than you. So how do you combat that? Like in Toshindo, with a better center of balance, better angling, better positioning, and letting someone, as Sensei says, Sensei Bragg, let them wreck themselves. You just be in a better position.
Yeah. And for those of you who don't know, BJJ is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But yeah, I remember a story like my dad, he got his black belt in Toshindo, and he tried to continue training, but we moved, and it just got too much of a hassle, and he ended up taking a BJJ. Shut up.
No comment.
Greg's giving me a stupid look.
It's natural.
I'm going to say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because I'm going to laugh every time I say the other one. Anyways, he took a class, and he said it was for the most part kind of similar concept, but he said that it was if you were stronger, you could make mistakes, and that might be fine if you are stronger right now, but like you said, if you try and do that in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, it's all downhill from there.
Yeah, and you know what? There's, as you know, there's a deeper meaning behind efficient movement and all. Efficient movement means efficient and flowing mind as well. So, with what I notice is the more efficient and better I get at the movement in Toshindo, the more my head kind of frees up as well. And we all need work there, me especially, but I can really feel the relation between free movement and less stress, less, better sleep, all these things, because your life starts working in a little bit more in an efficient manner, as opposed to let me just grind and run myself through the wall every day to get this done. You find easier ways to do things.
Mm-hmm. So do you think someone like me, I love doing your type of training, but I also love just lifting weights. Is there a happy medium between the two?
Absolutely. There's a balance. Once again, when I was your age, I was lifting 6 days a week, heavy, splitting body parts, doing all this stuff. And it worked for a while, and God graced me with a great body and a resilient body. To a point. We all have that breaking point, and I hit mine. You can get a nice mix where a couple days a week you lift heavy and do your linear movements, your bench press, squats, everything else, and there's nothing wrong with those movements. It's when they're overdone. And you got to remember, always never lose focus of why you're doing these movements. If it's strictly an aesthetic thing, there's probably other issues there. Yeah. But if you want some basic strength in those lifts while you're doing all your other things, that's fantastic. And that's the way I would have approached it if I could go back.
Okay. Yeah, because I know, well, for me it was, especially because I was a little skinny kid growing up, and I just wanted to get bigger. And then I did as much as I could. And then I feel like, well, I don't know how with all the gyms being closed, but I feel like within 3 to 4 months before all this corona crap happened, I felt like I hit I'd never got injured, but I felt like I hit a plateau. and I hear people saying, I want to get your opinion on this, is that your body will adapt itself so that it doesn't, or I don't know how to say this without getting it completely wrong, but like something along the terms of your body will adapt to a certain lifestyle so that it won't, like, it just becomes so hard to develop even further than that.
Yeah, it does. It's called homeostasis, and it's basically getting comfortable doing the same thing. So the guy that never does anything besides get off his couch, walk to his refrigerator to get a beer, if he has to walk twice as far because the refrigerator got it moved, that's progression, and that might make him sore. So, yeah, if you're doing the same thing all the time, don't expect, the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over, expect a different result. No, your body doesn't work that way. We are in a fight or flight sense when we train, whether we know it or not. That's the good stressor. How do we get ourselves back out of it and bounce back and be able to push hard the next time is really going to determine your progression. If it feels no need to improve because you keep loading the same loads at the same rate, at the same rest interval, you're just an injury waiting to happen, but there's going to be no progression going on.
Yeah, interesting. And that's the thing that I like about Toshindo is that it's such a different form of movement, at least Western, like American style, just like, especially like squatting. Like you want to get your butt out as far back as possible, but like one of the biggest things that you have to keep in mind doing Toshindo is you have to keep your butt, your hips under you the whole time, and even as you squat down low.
Yeah,
and that's what I like about that is it trains my body and it makes my mind focus on each individual body part and just trying to figure out how to do these movements. It's challenging, but it's a good challenge.
Yes, and you could tell, like when we're doing stuff, it doesn't really matter how strong you are. If you're off center a little bit, if you're not aligned, bone structure is aligned properly. Someone like Master Bragg can take that and with 10% of his strength, move you. All 215 pounds of me sometimes can get moved. And I'm like, how did that happen? I stopped asking how did that happen. I know how it happens now. Now it's a matter of correcting it, but yet that is the beauty. That's why an 80-year-old guy could be the master at this. And there's, 120-pound 80-year-old like Hatsumi, Master Hatsumi, and there's nothing you can do with him. He can basically move his fingers around while positioning, and you'll fall all over yourself.
Yeah, and watching him do it, even when he's doing it, you hardly see what he's doing. Like that's the whole thing with Toshindo and ninjutsu is to not show what you're doing. And it's just crazy that someone that old, all of a sudden the guy's on the ground.
Yep. And it almost looks like voodoo to somebody from the outside that doesn't practice this. You would say, "Oh no, that's not happening," or it's voodoo. It's really happening. And the better you get, the less you actually have to do for that result.
Yeah, that's crazy. I want to keep on talking to you about fitness. Where did the fitness thing all start for you?
When I was younger, like I said, I was more of the meathead type lifter, and I really enjoyed it. And I would change it if I could go back, but I learned a lot of lessons from it. Maybe I wouldn't be doing what I do and how I do it now if it wasn't for the fact of being such a bonehead so many times. And I played sports through, high school and some baseball in college and everything else. But I think my true love was movement. I just had to find that path. So kinesiology and physiology, I'm a biochemistry geek. All of that stuff interests me. And, currently I'm really kind of delving into stuff like breathing exercises, brain humming, all the stuff, anything to help recover, to settle the mind, which settles the body, and kind of gives you that synergistic whole body, mind, body, spirit effect.
So when you say you're starting to train on breathing and brain humming, what are those?
Well, breathing, there's all forms of breathing. People might know Wim Hof method or box breathing. That's really pushed by a guy named Mark Devine, who does Kokoro yoga and stuff out in California. But the breathing, it can be whatever you want. But currently I'm reading a book and really getting into some of their exercises. It's called Breathing for Warriors. And, you know, stuff, when you say take a deep breath, people start to breathe and they breathe vertically. And when I'm reading this and I'm going, well, how are you supposed to breathe? You know, you breathe vertically, but really, to be efficient with your breath, you breathe horizontally. So it starts under your navel and works out through your ribs, and you're trying to expand your rib cage laterally. We have all this room from cartilage that's too tight through our rib cage. By expanding that cartilage and moving your breath laterally, you're able to take in like 25% more breath than a normal big breath vertically. But you have to be very conscious of it initially until it becomes natural to breathe horizontally. It's just a retraining, just like anything else. Mm-hmm. Like you said, the squat with the butt behind you as opposed to keeping your center and your butt under you. When we're doing some of the Toshindo movements, the breathing's the same way. I've gotten to the point now, even sitting here, where I'm breathing, I'm talking to you, but I'm breathing horizontally without having to think about it so much. But you know, when I first started, I was breathing navel, you know, straight through the nose and losing all that lung capacity. But in a nutshell, what this is for better recovery. It settles the body more, gets you from a sympathetic to a parasympathetic state, which is just less fight or flight and more, hey, I don't need to panic or anything else now. And with all the stimulus in today's society, with the devices, with, you know, go all the time, we have to learn how to relax. We've lost the art of relaxing. Mm-hmm. And that could be relaxing while you're at work through your breath or through taking a minute every hour and doing nothing but touching your toes and doing some basic movement. But to get yourself out of that fight or flight and let your body heal. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's... And when you say relaxing, it's both a mental and physical form of relaxation, right?
Absolutely. They go hand in hand. I mean, if you can relax mentally, you'll heal your body physically. Mm-hmm. And that goes for sleep as well. This book really goes into some of the breathing techniques of what to do and how to breathe before bed. And I know I can get my pulse rate down like from like mid 50s to mid 40s in a 10-minute breathing session. Wow. So that alone, your body's so much more efficient. Not only your cardiovascular system, but every system now is like, okay, I can chill and I can start to heal instead of always being on edge and never letting your body heal.
Interesting. And what was the brain humming? What's that about?
Brain humming got turned on by a guy named Jim Donovan, and he does this thing called the Sound Solution. And it's a progression of breathing, then breathing and tapping, then breathing, tapping, and humming, and then breathing, tapping, humming with different sounds based on where your hand location is, and really trying to focus on, like, there's a top of the head, behind the head one that is nasal, one that is in the throat, one that's in the sternum, and one that's down by your privates, just below your hips. Get your hands off me. Yeah. So those are the locations. those.
See what I have to deal with here.
You don't know what he's doing here. But yeah, those are the locations, and by putting your focus there and making a different sound, believe it or not, you're sending energy into those areas. A lot of injuries and a lot of areas that are giving you a problem are not necessarily injured, but they're laying dormant. The nervous system isn't getting to them. They're laying basically dead. You have to wake them up. Feet are an example. Mm-hmm. You know, we always talk about foot strength and everything else in lifting or any movement. All your energy and power comes from under the ground through your feet. So that's your base. That's your foundation. So by putting your focus there and working your feet as a workable muscle as they are, you go from gross motor foot, which is typical because people they cast their feet in shoes, to more fine motor like your fingers of your hands, and all of a sudden your structure starts to take care of yourself. I know I'm all over the place, but the reason I'm all over the place is because they're all related.
Yeah.
There is no separation of everything, or in Toshindo Taijutsu, you put everything together, body unification, as opposed to segmenting body parts or, oh, my mind's different than my body. No, it isn't. It's all one unit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's an interesting, I don't know if you know who Jordan Peterson is.
Yes.
So he was saying that, like, there's this big myth that your mind is in your head, and then your body is just your body. That's completely wrong, because of your whole nervous system goes throughout your entire body.
That's right.
And so he was saying, I don't think he was talking about fitness, but he was talking about like how there shouldn't really be that distinct separation. It's all one package.
Right. Well, our bodies are basically a vehicle for our thoughts, our mind, and everything else. But it's just flesh, bone, and everything else. But our mind and our thoughts, our emotions, all of that stuff, our spirit is what moves, or what should be moving us, not our physical selves.
Okay, interesting. So, how did you? I think I kind of know, but how did you get started with Toshindo? Because you have, how long have you been doing it?
Toshindo for about 2 years. And I did other forms of martial arts like Aikido, and I was a boxer for years. I boxed, and I trained professional fighters both in boxing. I had a stable of fighters at one point, and then I had a stable of professional MMA fighters. And once again, I needed something else that wasn't so reliant, and I was always the fastest and the strongest and everything else. But what I noticed was, I would be great one day, and then I would have to take 4 days off in order to get that same effect again. So my body was basically giving me the signal, hey, wake up. You can't continue to go on this path. You need something else. So it came to me late, but Toshindo, thank God it did. I'm starting to move a little bit more efficiently with a little less effort to try to do the same things, and that's why I didn't find Toshindo. Toshindo kind of found me, And I had known Master Russo for many, many years, but I hadn't talked to him for many, many years, for over 20 years.
Oh wow!
And then when I came back, Master Bragg studied under Master Russo, and it's small world stuff, as we had talked about. Yeah. So I was like, it's kind of meant to be. There's signs that just kind of point me, hey, this is where I need to be. And it's one of the better decisions I've made in a long time.
Definitely. I had always wanted to do it because growing up, my dad did it when I was 3 or something, like super young. And I just remember like seeing him, and it was so cool. And I'd hear all of his stories from Anshu Hayes, and just hearing all of that, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then now that I finally was on my own, and I moved down to Orlando, and I found the Orlando Toshindo Club, like I was like, all right, got to do this.
Right. Yeah, so Master Bragg has been fantastic in implementing all this stuff, and he's good, as you know, with different personalities, and he's good with different bodies. Everyone comes in with different physical abilities, but we all try to get to the same place. So yeah, he's been wonderful in the process. All the guys at Toshindo, it truly is a good club feeling. And we had this discussion the other day. We learn from everybody in the class, whether it's the person coming in for the first day, or someone like Matt or Michael. There's something to be learned from everybody, and when you can't learn from everybody, it's time to look intrinsically, because you're shutting something down.
Yeah,
there's a lesson every day.
Yeah, and not just learning how to move or learning a certain strike or anything, but learning other skills. Like we were talking about, like whether someone, maybe they approach how they tell you how to do something, how to do a strike differently, and it just isn't jiving with you. Well, then you can learn some patience.
Yes. Yeah.
And other stuff to go along with that. You can learn patience. You can learn, and you can just learn like communication skills. Like maybe you're telling someone how to do something, but they just aren't getting it. And well, maybe it's not that they're not getting it. Maybe it's that you're not explaining it the right way.
Yeah, that's right. Well, like we'll listen to people, and there's certain guys in class that they'll give you cues. They'll know what triggers you. That little point that says, just I invite you, which is one of the terms that we use, because you don't tell anybody what to do. I'll invite you to try this. And inevitably, these things all work, or you learn from what they've told you, and you find your own path in life. I mean, that's everybody's different. Everybody goes about it differently. Hopefully, we're on a path to the same place.
Yeah.
But we all take a different route.
Yeah, all on the same trajectory.
Right.
And you were saying, talking about small worlds, you were saying with Toshindo, small world here is that your neighbor was like my boss's 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 boss at Disney. So Gary Hansen, he was my senior vice president.
Okay, yeah, Gary, I've known him since I'm in my home. We moved in basically at the same time, almost 7 years ago. Gary's an awesome dude. His family is fantastic family. Yeah, he's never mentioned you, which is odd.
I know.
No, actually, who would put you guys together until we actually just came to that realization today.
And I can't believe, because you've talked about him for the past several months.
Right.
And he was like, "Oh, my neighbor," and I don't know if he mentioned him by name or whatever. But then, like literally a half hour before the podcast starts, you're talking about your neighbor Gary, and I'm like, "What's his last name?" "Oh, Hansen." The fuck?
Yeah. That's Gary. That's Gary. Yeah, I'll definitely. It's a small world. Speaking of Disney, please open again.
Yes.
We're both dying here.
Yeah. I need to work.
He needs to work, and I need to frolic around the parks again. Yeah. I'm missing it. It's amazing. We're both Disney guys, by the way. For anybody out there that doesn't know us, we're both complete Disney geeks, and more so, people are like, well, the rides at Universal, screw the rides at Universal. The mojo at Disney is what attracts me. It's, you can actually feel and be in tune with the mojo at Disney. By mojo, I mean that energy, that buzz, that anytime I'm at the parks or any of the resorts or even downtown Disney, you can feel it from
Disney Springs.
Oh, shoot. I'm dating myself. Yeah, Disney Springs. But yeah, I was telling Jonathan, I was at either one of the parks or Disney Springs 3 or 4 times a week. If I had a free hour and a half, I'm like, okay, I'm doing a lap around Epcot, or I'm going to walk around. I'm going to walk to the monkeys over at Animal Kingdom, see what they're up to, and I'm going to walk out and come back and get back to work. But it's not just me. It means a lot to a lot of people, this whole coronavirus bullshit. It really does mean a lot to millions out there, not for the fact you're taking a vacation or anything else, but to get back to a way of life. And I had a friend say this one time, and it made me think a little bit. He said, "Oh, what are you escaping when you go there?" And I said, "No, I'm not escaping." And then I thought about it, and my response to him, and I'm glad I came up with it because it must have been in there somewhere. My response was, "Oh, if that makes me happy, and I'm in a happy place, and everything is relaxed, and I'm just kind of being who I am, is that really an escape, or is that who all of us should be?" And that's a good question to ponder. Is an escape? It's not harming anybody. Is an escape because you're happy? So is normality that I'm miserable and everything is tedium? I don't want that to be my reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I love hearing you say that too, because Walt's whole vision was, or his whole thing was like, no, I'm going to build a park that I can enjoy with my kids. And then in doing so, and having these billions of people come through the parks, it really brings out the kid in you. And I see that in you. You're a goofball at heart. I don't think you've ever grown up.
No, and nor do I want to. It's, you have responsibilities and all. I have 2 daughters and a wife. There's things that that I'm responsible for and try to be part of. That's a big part of me. But yeah, if I ever get so serious that I'm not a kid, and I have an older brother that is as much a kid as I am with everything, I want to go to the grave being a kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you were talking about, I forget, oh my God, I just lost the point I was going to talk. You were saying something, like people ask me, like when you were talking about like how many times you go and what you do, people always ask me, don't you ever get bored of going? It's like, no, because I don't do, I don't do everything all in the same day. It's impossible anyways. And and every interaction with, like, the cast members are amazing. Every different interaction with them, it's something new. And there's so much more to explore than, it's not just the 4 parks, like you were saying. It's the Disney Springs. There's like 30-some resorts there, and they're continue to add more. And it's a new experience every time, no matter if it's your first time or your 5,000th time.
That's right, and I think we're one and the same. It's not end result stuff. We're not looking for a final result. Well, what rides did you go on? What did you do? It's not about accomplishing. We're not trying to do anything when we go there necessarily. Mm-hmm. We're there for the process, and the process is beautiful if you allow it to happen. But if you're on some type of timeline and deadline to get to rides and get out of the park. Mm-hmm. Probably the wrong place for you.
Yeah.
Enjoy every moment around you. And that doesn't have to be at the Disney parks. It could be taking a walk in nature. It could be doing anything. When we do our Toshindo, the process is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's not end result. There is no end result to anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because when we go to class, it's not, all right, I'm going to get this today.
Right.
I'm going to learn this strike, or I'm going to learn this move, whatever. It's just, were you, like, what's the thing? Like, I'm one step closer to my goals. Yeah. Like, all that matters is that you made progress, that you did something that adds value to what you have now.
Yeah. Epiphanies, we don't go and find the little epiphanal moments. They find us. And they can come at any time. The stuff with the bow staff with me, when I started, I was lucky I didn't knock myself out. And then all of a sudden, I was frustrated. I remember being frustrated and holding it in, which is the worst thing because it inhibits any creativity or any free movement. But I couldn't. I was just in my own head. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I went out to take a leak. And what did I do? I grabbed the bow staff because it must have been on my mind in my own garage, and I started twirling it. Mm-hmm. And next thing you know, I twirled to the other side. And it just felt right. Why? Why at 3 o'clock in the morning on the day that I couldn't get it no matter what did that come to me? Mm-hmm. If I kept seeking it out, it wasn't going to find me.
Yeah.
I finally surrendered, and surrender is a powerful thing, as you know.
Yeah.
Surrender is a form of power, because it allows for that creative gene and for that body of movement that you're looking for to happen, as opposed to you doing.
Yeah. So I write music and all the stuff like that. Probably half of the songs that I write, I woke up hearing the notes to them. I can't explain it. It's not like I was dreaming about writing music. I just woke up and I was like, okay, there it is.
Right. Well, it's like me. I was a big crossword guy for years, and it actually helped me with my vocabulary. I remember, just pounding my head. I needed one more, and I could complete the crossword. Well, the harder I tried, the worse it got. Yeah. Master Russo, 25 years ago, I was training with him and rolling around, and I said, Master Russo, I said, if I really try hard and I come twice a day with you, how long until I get to your level? He goes, I don't know, 10 years. I go, what if I count 3 times a day? And his answer, 20 years. There was a lesson to be learned there. I was too stupid at the time to really understand it. But it's true. The more sometimes you try and get off the road of process, things will find you. If they belong with you, they'll find you.
Yeah. I can't remember who said it or what talk I was in or whatever, but someone was like, yeah, don't give 110% because that's stupid. Like you're gonna work yourself backwards.
That's right.
if you overexert. And then physically, that leads to injury.
Yep.
You know, if you try and bench, like, if I were to try and bench 300 pounds right now, I'd die.
Yep.
You know, and then, but also it's mentally defeating when you have those setbacks and you're like, I tried so hard, what went wrong? And you can beat yourself up over it. But maybe if you just stop, take a breath, and then just say, all right, I'm just gonna do it and see what happens.
Well, back to total fitness. I keep almost swallowing the microphone, forgetting it's here.
Wonder why.
It didn't come natural. But yeah, back to like what we do at Total Fitness 360. Because stuff is different all the time, you're not necessarily going, well, last time I could do this, and because the movements are different, the pace is different, everything's different. So whether you know it or not, you're getting better because of the variation of things, not always because I'm lifting more weight or anything else. But the process is great. Sometimes I feel great doing stuff like that today with a PVC pipe filled with 1.5 gallons of water. It's a 5-foot PVC pipe, 2-inch diameter. You know, making it move more efficiently and stop fighting it. The mace is a prime example. You've used the mace.
Yeah.
You want to fight a mace, you can fight a mace. You're never going to win. It's like fighting water. Water will beat you. Just try harder. Yeah, and the water will just exhaust you and beat you. So how do I work along with it?
Yeah.
And you learn how to be in marriage almost with the implements that we're using, and yeah, they become your friend a little bit, as opposed to I'm going to move you over here and move it. Doesn't work.
Yeah, and that's I like that too, like doing your type of training, because you know when you just did something wrong, like because your body would be thrown, or you just won't be able to hold the mace or the kettlebell.
Right.
Like it's not supposed to be I mean, there's obviously some strength component involved, but it's not like, all right, you need to lift this mace with your, like, just using your bicep, or just, you know, it's the whole body.
Right. Right.
And when you don't do it the right way, like you said, it'll just wear you out.
Yeah.
Or worse.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, I'm missing Disney. It's been like a month and a half since we closed, and I don't know what's going. I mean, have you heard of anything that's opening up, or?
I haven't. I know, like, Universal closed down to the end of May, and good for them.
I heard to the end of June.
Really?
Yeah.
I hope that's not the case. But Disney is not a follower, so I hope Disney takes the lead. You know, they can do things the right way, just like anything else. And don't get me started on this whole coronavirus, the Wu-Tang flu.
Kung flu.
Yeah. Honestly, I think there's about a 95% bullshit call on this one. You know, I'm a big herd immunity guy. You obviously do things correctly, and you protect those that are vulnerable, the older people, the people with pre-existing. But this is nothing that has to be mandated by a government, ours, and this is nothing that also means you want to see real medical hardship. You're seeing it now. You're seeing heavy cases of depression, suicides, alcoholism, domestic abuse, and down the road, it's going to happen. It's already happening. These people with cancers and these bad diseases, they're only going to get worse sitting around and doing nothing, not being productive. You know, we're human beings. We're doers. We're people that are supposed to be productive. We're people that we're Americans. We're doers. We're producers.
Yeah.
You know, let the rest of the world, let the communist nations dictate to their people, you know, what they're going to do. That's not us. That's not America.
Yeah. No, it's exactly. And when we can get back to the corona or whatever, but like when people are like, oh, well, you know, this place in Europe does it this way. All right, I'll buy you a plane ticket.
Yeah.
Go.
My grandparents came from Italy for a reason, you know, to escape fascism and everything else. A lot of us have. My wife's parents came from a dictatorship, Pinochet in Chile. They escaped. They left everything. They were well off in Chile. They left a home, cars, everything, every possession but the clothes on their back. Madre Paz, Mother Peace. There was a nun that actually snuck them out of the country,
Wow.
helped sneak them out of the country one at a time to get here. There's a reason why people flee here.
Mm-hmm.
We're not fleeing to Cuba or Venezuela
No.
or Russia or China.
Yeah. No, and it's also like all the celebrities that said like if Trump gets elected, I'm moving to Canada.
Please.
Yeah. Well, they never went.
No, they never do. They never do. Do us all a favor.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be here, that goes for anybody. If I didn't want to be here, I wouldn't be here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll live and die here.
Yeah.
This is my home.
Exactly. Yeah. The thing that really gets me is that, and I'm not saying that the coronavirus isn't real. I'm just going to say that right off the bat. But I do believe that the flu is worse. Well, you can easily check the numbers on that. There's been, I think, like 40 some, or I don't know, last thing I saw, not accurate. You know what? Let me just look it up. I have my computer in front of me because
55,000 as of this morning.
Okay, 55,000 from coronavirus, but they like if someone has coronavirus and they get hit by a car while they're walking on the sidewalk, coronavirus death.
Yeah, no doubt. And here's what they're not counting, Jonathan. And I had this conversation with a lot of the Total Fitness members this morning, and they all concur. They're not counting. What am I looking for? They're not counting those that are asymptomatic.
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably 3/4 of our population that are asymptomatic. In other words, they've built an antibody for it because they've beaten it.
Mm-hmm.
That's welcome to the common cold or other flu viruses. They've beaten it. That's how you beat the flu. You have enough people with an immunity that beats it. It has nowhere to be. It has no home.
Mm-hmm.
This whole social distancing and everybody boarding down, we're prolonging the fact is what we're doing now. Protect those that need to be protected, as we always do as Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mandate from D.C. what I should be doing, what I should be wearing, when and where I should go. Please.
Yeah. Well, I went to Chipotle to pick up some food, and you have to have a mask on, and I didn't have a mask on, and I started walking through the door like, oh no, you can't be here. So I just
did the bandit with the shirt.
I just put my shirt over my face. It's really.
Yeah. Agreed.
And the masks don't really do that much, anyways.
No, not what they. You know what? These are all Band-Aids. It's amazing, and what scares me is that when our government says jump, we've got the majority of our population that jump. Mm-hmm. How about this? Even if you agree with this and you believe in boarding yourself up or wearing a mask, I have no problems with that.
If that's your personal choice.
If that is your personal choice, I don't have to agree with it. But when the government mandates something, how about you question it first? Mm-hmm. Question everything. I love Donald Trump as a president. Thank God for him. He came along at the right time. I cannot imagine the alternative.
Holy shit. Could you?
No, I cannot imagine the alternative. We'd be living like we were living in Caracas at this point, I think. But with that aside, I'll question everything Donald Trump does. He's a human being. He's a man. There's a reason why we're a nation of law. We're a nation of law because we can't live without law.
Yeah.
We're all sinners. We all need guidelines and all, but we don't need mandates from the government on our freedoms. And I pray to God that we get these freedoms back because people are too easy to give up their liberties.
Yeah. One of my favorite Thomas Jefferson quotes is, what was it? I prefer. What is it? You help me out. I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Ben Franklin, if you look at throughout history, human nature hasn't changed. Our technologies have changed. Everything's nice. Deep down, we're animals, right? We're survival animals. And we're also human tendency people. So, You got guys like Cicero back in the Roman era. You got Ben Franklin in our time, and all the way up until now. Once people can vote themselves money, for example, like Franklin said, there's that tipping point of once the majority of the population can vote themselves money for doing nothing, or vote themselves, or abandon freedoms for a little bit of perceived security, we're done.
Yeah,
we'll fall just like everybody else. It's always that fine line. There was something said we're like a thin layer of wax paper on top of a volcano, and our rules and laws and law enforcement and everybody else, but mostly our citizenry, are holding it all together. But it's a very fine line.
It is, yeah. Well, and the nice thing, what I love about our nation is that no one swears loyalty to any one person.
That's right.
It's the Constitution. When you're commissioned in the military, you swear to uphold and protect the United States Constitution,
right.
Not the guy who's running. I mean, obviously, like you report to him, sure, but it's still your job to adhere by the Constitution,
protect and defend.
Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah, and the other thing is that the Constitution isn't laws that are given to the citizens; it's laws that are given to the government.
That's right. It's limitations on government. It's not, this is what you can do. It's basically, here's what you can't do. Once again, human nature. That power grab, that we called it, when I was up in Baltimore, we called it Potomac fever. A lot of people with good intentions go to D.C. and they become congressmen or senators, and the good intentions quickly wane once they catch that Potomac fever.
They do.
And they want to be popular at the cocktail party and with the media and everybody else. And that's in both parties.
Yeah.
Like I said, question everything. I'm not loyal to a party. I'm loyal to my God, family, and the Constitution.
Yeah. And even just like bringing it back to training, you can question your training too, and that's probably how you got to where you are right now, just in terms of physical fitness. Like, all right, this isn't, why isn't this working? Why am I feeling this way? What can I do to better myself? And you found it, So it's not just, you don't have to be like Alex Jones skeptical about everything and say that fluoride is making frogs gay or whatever. But
that isn't true?
Well, it is. But anyways, you can apply it to all aspects of your life, and that's how I got to eat the diet that I'm eating, like, all right. And one of the big questions I asked, is there something that I can be doing better? That's a good question to ask. And then I found my answer, and I don't recommend this diet for everyone because I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a nutritionist, but it's what works for me and it's worked so far, and I've had good results, but not everyone's the same as me.
No, that's true. Everybody, there is no one diet fits all, and you get the keto crowd, and I'm a big believer in a lot of parts of keto, but and I've done it strictly, and I've maintained that ketonic state for a while. But what I noticed with me with the keto eating is after a while there was something that I lacked, and that high I got from the initial being in that ketonic state, not ketonic,
ketogenic.
Ketogenic.
Yep.
Yeah, ketonic means, okay, never mind. I wouldn't be talking here, but yeah, that ketogenic state is it started to wane, and what I started to implement, I was listening to Ben Greenfield, which is one of my favorite podcasts, another biochemistry nut that I love. But his thing was like, hey, implement some good low glycemic carbohydrate, and the old style is, well, eat it early because then you'll have time to burn it out. Well, his thing, and it seems to work for me, is I'll have a purple potato or sweet potato or high grain something late in the evening, and it helps repair a little bit. And it also helped balance blood sugar and all, and I was a little less brain foggy and everything else. So once again, that worked for me. Does
Yeah.
it work for the guy next, or you, or somebody? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of tool with stuff, but you find where your biochemistry is with eating, and you kind of go down that path. But
Mm-hmm.
there's some general guidelines. You don't eat Snicker bars as a staple or anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But there, and you drink. There's things like you drink plenty of water. That goes for every human being.
Oh, yeah.
You
That's
stay,
probably the best thing you can do is just drink water.
I mean, picture if our society drank like grown men should be drinking about a gallon of water a day, right? So if we did that as a society, we'd probably eliminate half of our medical problems.
Yeah.
And the cost of medicines and everything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's amazing. Like I can definitely tell when I don't get enough water.
Yeah.
Sleep is off, workouts are off, training is off.
Yep.
Everything's off.
Yeah, we are a big walking mass of water. Basically, all our tissues, our brains work on fat and water. Fat's another thing. It's like good fats.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who you are. You need some good fats.
Yeah.
Be wary of these low fat diets or counting every micro calorie. It's not life applicable to do that stuff. Find what works. Be good most of the time, and you're on the road.
Well, I like some of the fitness people I follow. I saw one of them today. Like, make sure to count your calories and your macronutrients. I'm like, just eat good. Just eat stuff that isn't shit. I don't.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You don't have to go down to a science to figure out. Okay, well, if I have like 20 grams of protein and 30 grams of fat and 50 grams of carbs, what's that going to do to me?
If you're generally eating decently, your body works efficiently, and it'll filter out excess things really well. If you're not eating well, as a general rule, pretty much very consistently, it doesn't filter anything else. So then, you might have a backup issue in your kidneys, your liver, which shows in brain fatigue and bad sleep and bad performance in all sorts of ways.
Yeah.
But, your body gives you signs. Pay attention.
Mm-hmm. So I think my two big things probably drink water and severely lower your sugar consumption.
Well said. I mean, what human body works well on high glycemic or crappy simple sugars and low water? There's not a person walking the earth that works well on both of those without those.
That's like when I forget what year of the Olympics it was, but there's a Coca-Cola commercial where all these Olympic athletes are doing their thing, and then right after they get like Michael Phelps hops out of a pool and cracks open an ice cold Coca-Cola. He doesn't do that.
No. He'd be the one human being that could perform like that and actually suck down Cokes when he's out of the water.
Yeah.
Well, soda's nothing but a dehydrant. I mean, so you look at even Gatorade and all these drinks, it's garbage. I mean, they're all garbage. Water, there's certain things you can add to water, apple cider vinegar, you can add lemon or lime. But
some electrolytes.
Some electrolytes aren't a bad thing. You add good sodium, like a pink salt. You put a pinch of baking soda in water to drop the alkali level. Because drop the acidity level. What you're looking to do is become more alkali in your body to kill inflammation, and you're pretty good to go.
Yeah. What I do is I do I don't have any right now, but sparkling water with a little pink salt.
Good. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be with everyone, but if you set here's my routine in the morning. I'll drink 12 ounces of water, and then I'll fill it up again for another 12 ounces and put in a quarter teaspoon of baking soda. Works for me. Everybody doesn't have to do this. Don't follow my lead. But a quarter teaspoon of baking soda, and kind of a weird taste, but it's just quarter of a teaspoon. And what it does is basically sets your blood levels, your pH levels become a little bit more alkali, so you're able to heal a little bit better. That acidity in foods and everything. You can do the same thing, by the way, by squeezing some lemon or lime in water. It goes in acidic but becomes alkali when it hits your stomach.
Okay.
Apple cider vinegar is another one that's become
I do
popular.
that too, yeah.
Have a couple of glasses, like an ounce with a glass of water a couple times a day. Anything to bring your alkali level up and your acidity level down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Because I do the apple cider, or do the salt. I don't know if I measure it though. I just see what. I don't know. Just all right. That's good enough. Sounds good.
Well, you know when you have too much.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like your balls shrivel and yeah, apple cider vinegar will let you know when you have too much.
Yeah, but the problem with me is I love vinegar. I can drink pickle juice like right out of the can.
Yes, that's another
that's
topic.
So
pickle
good.
Juice. It's another good one.
Really?
Pickle juice. Any of the fermented things, sauerkraut, beets, kimchi, things like that. There's all kinds of fermentation, all kinds of good bacterias in those. For anybody looking for a digestive aid, any of the fermented things like sauerkraut, pickles, beets.
I love sauerkraut.
Yeah, it's all good. Try to get a little bit of it every day. Kimchi is another one.
What's that?
Kimchi is a cabbage. It's actually
Just bring it closer. Yeah.
It was a Korean dish, like a side that you can throw on absolutely anything, and it's cabbage that you can get spicy or whatever. It's almost like a picante, a hot sauce type taste.
Okay.
But you could use it as like a relish or a side, or I like to throw it on burgers or a steak as a topping. It is friggin' delicious. Try kimchi if you haven't tried it.
And it's like kind of spicy, you said?
It can be spicy or you can get it mild. I like it a little bit. And spicy foods, too. If you can handle a little bit of spice, it's actually good for you.
Yeah.
For your circulation and all.
One thing I always know is if I eat a lot of spice, spicy going in is spicy going out.
Yeah. Sometimes a lot worse going out. Yeah.
Oh.
Mount Vesuvius.
Yeah. Just inverted. Just some shit jokes. This is how you know. This is another thing I love about Greg is that I'm a 24-year-old talking shit jokes with a 52-year-old.
You know what? Like my old man used to say. If a fart isn't funny anymore, somebody please put a bullet in my head because it should always be funny.
Yeah, that's a good one. I love it. And that's how I know you're still a kid at heart, too.
Absolutely.
I mean, you would fit in with my friends easily. Well, maybe not looks, they look kind of old. Might need to dye your hair.
They'd warm up to me.
Yeah. Yeah, they would. No, they're great guys. One thing that I completely forgot to ask you about is, did you figure out, this complete left turn here, folks. Did you figure out how to do that particular type of training, or did you have like mentors that kind of like helped you along the way with that, with the type of training you do at Total Fitness?
There were mentors. There's always mentors along the way, but honestly, and I'm kind of proud of it, it was experimentation. God help the people that I was training 20 years ago because everything was hit or miss. And, maybe some of the stuff is now, too, and you have to take shots. You have to take chances. But, I would experiment on myself. Everything from tires and sledgehammers to Indian clubs and cords and cables and climbing and weight I mean, you name it. Sandbags, Bulgarian bags, suples bands. I can go on. And then there is no wrong way to do things, is what I noticed. Like, I was like, well, how do I put this together? Really, don't worry about it. Put stuff together and make your body adjust. It's like the people that, it's a little cold in here today. It's a little warm in here today. Too bad. Let your body acclimate to the environment. You don't, try to change the environment to your body. When I owned a gym up in Baltimore, great people that work with me, great clientele, trained Loyola University's lacrosse team and Calvert Hall High School's team and all kinds of things. I was blessed, absolutely blessed to be in front of all kinds of great people. And we kind of found each other. Don't know where I was going with this story, but I'll keep talking.
I don't. You're talking about. Well, first you're talking about like your body being acclimated to something.
Okay, yeah. But I would just slap together workouts and stuff, and there was no wrong way. I would throw this together with these three things, and hey, you know what? I'll throw a run in the middle of this, a sprint, and then we'll come back and we'll do these three things. And there is no wrong way because there is no heavy adaptation by the athletes or the people that I was training. Progress happens.
Yeah.
If you try to be too end result or too regimented, and get away from the beauty of the process, there goes your results. You start going a little stir crazy. Your mind goes crazy. You get bored. You get injured, or you just lose interest. So there is no wrong way. Play. That's what it's about.
Okay. Yeah. So how did you? I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question since you said there's no wrong way to do things. How did you distinguish what was a better way to do things?
Necessity is the mother of all invention. So, through injuries and through just being so beat up and sore and everything else myself, what I would do is I would just slap together some workouts and say, okay, I got half an hour or 40 minutes. And I would, do things with all kinds of odd implements and everything else. And, I noticed that my body started to heal. I was not so worried about how much I was lifting. Could I lift more than this guy? Was I trying to top myself from last time? No, I wasn't doing any of that. Now it was just for the sake of moving, for the beauty of movement. And, man, the body will heal, the mind will heal, and you're back.
Sorry, got the corona. When you were talking about earlier, like about not having an end result, and enjoying the process, it got me thinking. Have you read this book?
That's Anshu Hayes.
Yeah,
not that one. I've read several of his. Not that one.
Okay, this is. I'll give you this one. This one is a good one. So this is The Ninja and Their Secret Fighting Art. I actually talked about this in my last podcast, and I actually talk about this exact thing I'm going to talk about again, but it's worth rereading, and it'll be cool for you to know. So this book is basically about Anshu's kind of like his whole training when he was in Japan with Hatsumi Sensei.
Yes. And
so in the last chapter, I'm kind of spoiling the ending for you here, but Hatsumi Sensei, he said the first step to spiritual power is to get rid of your desire. And as he explains in this, it's not so much like the desire for a certain car, or it's not necessarily like a want, but it's a want for something to happen the way that you want it to.
Yes.
And I think that goes into how you kind of figured out how this training works for you. And it also ties in with, obviously, with Toshindo, because the moment you try and do something in Toshindo, it's not going to work.
Correct. Well, there's two things. There's attachment and there's connection. Connection's a great thing. But I say a prayer every night, and the prayer that I have is, may I stay connected to you, meaning to me, it's Jesus. May I stay connected to you and connected to myself. Everything else can come along for the ride or not, because everything else at that point is attachment. And people say, well, you have a family, you have a good. Yes, but there's so much that is out of our control that if I try too hard to hold on, that becomes an attachment.
Yeah.
I try to do the best I can and do what I can, and then if you're along for the ride, I feel there is that connection. If not, there's not a lot I can do about it. We control very little in life. We control our perceptions of things is what we can control. Our efforts, I always tell my athletes this, you can control your effort, and you can control how you perceive things, that information. Sensei talks about it. Here's some information. Take with it what you want. Yeah. Do not take what has not been offered. That's another thing in Toshindo, for those of you that don't know. In other words, if I go after something, I've lost the connection. Now I'm trying to attach. Now I'm to go after, and it's never healthy. That's analogous for life, not just the martial arts or athletics, but mostly analogous to life.
Yeah, and that's why I love this martial art so much, is because there's so much wisdom in it too. It's not just about, well, and as we say in Toshindo, we don't fight in it. Right. So it's not about fighting, or it's not just about self-defense, but there's so much wisdom that has been passed down since the ninja have started way back in the 10th, 11th century. Right. There's so much wisdom in that.
Right. And for those that, there's heavy Christian base, and I consider myself a devout spiritual person. I'm Catholic. I'll die Catholic. But there's nothing wrong with sharing, and Toshindo is not a religion. Ninjutsu is not a religion. What it is, though, is a set of beliefs and ways to do things. And the parallels between this and Christianity are stunning.
Yeah.
I mean, they're dead on.
Mm-hmm.
So there's very little difference in kind of the Buddhist ways and Catholicism in the big picture.
Yeah.
Because we're on different paths, maybe, but the end result should be about the same.
Yeah. I in my last podcast, I talk about the similarities between the Bible and some phrases from Hatsumi Sensei, like perfect alignment. It was crazy. And
the Constitution in the Bible.
Yeah,
that's a whole other topic.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Well, I mean, that's where they basically got it from, you know, and especially. And the other nice thing, we're going all over the place here.
Yeah.
But the other nice thing is that with the Constitution is that the rights that we have granted by it, they weren't granted from a government. No one, not one person did it. Those were God-given rights.
That's right.
And that's why it holds up and stands the test of time.
That's right. If a man did it, we'd screw it up somehow. And that's it's been proven time and time again. When you believe in a higher power, and whatever that is for you, and I'm not one to tell anybody what to believe, but if you don't believe in a higher power of some sort, some form of energy that's higher than yourself, or God forbid our federal government, you're going to live a shallow life, and there's something missing. There's something missing if you don't believe there's a higher power than yourself.
Yeah. And have you seen Dexter?
I have not.
Okay. Well, so you know what it's about?
No.
Okay. So it's about a serial killer who only kills bad people, but without going over the whole plot of the whole show. So Dexter is an atheist or whatever, and he's talking to this guy, to this priest, and he's like having a conversation about God, and he's like, yeah, I just, I don't believe that someone's in control, like the sun will rise and the sun will set, and the tides will happen because of the moon in relation to the sun and something like that. And the priest goes, oh, so you do believe in a higher power?
Yeah.
Like there's something outside of us that's and that's kind of like I might be jumping a lot in my head here, but kind of like what you were saying with surrendering.
Yeah.
Like surrender to a higher power, surrender to something outside yourself. Because you cannot control it.
I live a lot of my life surrendering to nothing, and made me miserable. Surrendering to nothing, thinking that any form of surrender is weakness. When I've come to the realization a little time ago that surrender is nothing but power. It just enables you to be free. And there's no... you know me. There's no soft about me when it comes to stuff I'm going to stand up for.
Yeah.
But surrendering to that higher power and surrendering to things I can't control, even though it's a work in progress, I'm continuing on that path. And the more I surrender to those things I cannot control, the happier I am.
Yeah, like when when they said that I was going to be let go, I was like, I'd been working at it for probably the past 2 years or so, just to let things go and control what I can. And my first reaction, which I was kind of proud of myself, I was like, all right, well, thanks for having me. And then in my mind, it's like, all right, what can I do now to prepare myself, A, for what's about to come, and B, how can I make myself competitive to get back in the job market? Yep. So it's like just you acknowledge that something happened, that it and it's there, but it's I've had a conversation with Master Bragg, and we were talking about like things that I had like a problem at work one day, and he goes, you know what, it's in the past. But just like how he said it, I was like, holy shit, you're right.
Yeah.
Like it's not here. Like,
Yeah.
so just do what you can now. Prepare, for the future, but it's in the past.
Yeah. Each moment is a new moment. I'll tell you, brother, you are way ahead of the game for your age and all. I wish I was where. Well, I'm not going to wish because it's looking past in the past. But
Yeah.
it would have been nice to have been in your head the way you're thinking now at your age, because you're well ahead of your years in the way you do things and the way you think, which is what attracted me to you.
You're attracted to me?
Well, not like this microphone attraction.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is the fun we have. Yeah, honestly, a large part of my maturity would probably be reading 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Have you read that?
I haven't.
I'll lend you that one. That sincerely changed how I view, not the world, but I view myself in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I can act as a miraculous being. I mean, what the hell chance did you and I have of ever becoming alive? That's a miracle in itself. But and how can I use that to better myself, and then after I better myself, after taking care of what I can, how does that propagate throughout the world? And that's kind of what I want to try and do with this podcast. Is just my last podcast was just me rambling about the Bible for an hour and a half.
Right.
Maybe one person, even if one person got something out of it, not even if one person got something out of it, I got something out of it. I learned so much.
That's right.
And then if anyone, in addition to me, can take something from it, whether it's or learn something or think of something a new way.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, there is the law of attraction. You wonder how. There's so many parts of my life that I got put in front of people, or this person knows this person from 20 years ago. How did you know? I couldn't even begin to start these stories, and I really believe in the law of attraction. So nothing ever good has happened to me when I'm in a shit way in my head.
Mm.
When I'm in a good way in my head, that 1 in 6 or 7 billion people on Earth find me.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that connection, and here we go. And something else happens. And my life has been a puzzle like that, where 20 years could expire and go by, and next thing you know, I'm in front of this person who knew this person. And but only when I'm in a good way. Mm-hmm. If I'm in a bad way, that never happens. Those opportunities pass you by, and they could have brushed your shoulder at one of the Disney parks.
Yeah.
If you're in a bad way. If you're in a good way, man, people want to talk to you. People want to be around you. But it's like my clientele now. I am so blessed. But I'm attracted, like-minded, not necessarily like-minded. I don't want mind-dead people either.
Mm-hmm.
People will question me as well, which is what I need. But just like energy people seem to find me.
Yeah.
And I find them. And my work is not like work, like your work at Disney, because you're working at Disney, the happiest place on earth.
Yeah.
It's just, but only when you're in a good way. So long story short, take care of yourself. Physically, mentally, spiritually, take care of yourself, and things will find you. Not on your time necessarily, but eventually they're going to find you.
Yeah. Yeah, and just I bring it back to Gary Hansen, whatever happened today happened for me to make the connection to think about asking you about his last name, And maybe that was because we worked out earlier and I was in a good mood, doing a good workout, something happened.
Right.
That I was like, all right, well, I guess now is the time. And then especially now, because now I'm out of a job.
Yep.
And then maybe, not that.
Gary first hire back will be Jonathan.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary.
Subliminal message.
Yeah. If he ever listens to this, I don't know. But yeah. But stuff happens for a reason.
Yeah, that's right. And Johnny, I really believe, I know you want to get back to Disney, and I actually say a prayer for you to get back, because I know how much it would mean to you. With all ball breaking aside and all, that would mean a lot to me if you're back there.
Yeah.
And the doors open and we hit the ground running.
Yeah. No, just got goosebumps just thinking about it. I mean, just to be back in any capacity, you know, and doing what I can do. And I mean, this is the crazy thing is like, so I'm like thinking about my whole life. I think when I was 5, I knew I wanted to work at Disney. And so we moved all around the country, born in Nebraska, then to Ohio. Then we actually moved down here. We lived in Melbourne. And so that's when I was 3 to 5 when we lived here. And that was like, and we'd go to Disney every weekend. And that was it that did it. And then we went to New Mexico, Minnesota, and then we stayed in Minnesota. But as soon as I graduated, I packed my bags and came down here. And then the crazy thing is, and then I was able to work for Disney. And then also down here, I was able to do Toshindo, which I'd always wanted to do. And then I was able to meet you. And then there's all these, I mean, and you can do that with any, like, you know, you can draw like that little like map, you know, the line on the map to where you are now with this person or with that other person or the other person. But like, it's crazy. Everything worked itself out in order for me to be here, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, you're in a good way. Your demeanor and your way is, let me say, the Disney way. You personify the Disney way, which, once again, anybody that has that Disney way about them, and I'm drawn to those people. Bad energy, I've learned through the years to just steer away. Don't try to confront it.
Yeah.
Necessarily. If you can get away, let the door open and let them keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like we were talking about earlier, like if you have bad energy, or you're just a negative, I'm probably one of the most negative people I know, like just my mindset, just overall. I mean, I'm working to change it. But if you're like externally negative, I always try to never have whatever negative thoughts are in my mind out and affect the people around me. Yeah. But if you're externally negative, I'm putting my hands up, say, all right, just go.
Yeah. It'll suck the life out of you. I mean, everyone out there knows what we're talking about, that energy drain from being around people like that. If 1 and 1 doesn't equal 3, probably good idea to get away from somebody.
Yeah, it's just it's not a good, and it's not like you know who they are right away. It might take something, or it might take an instance or some big thing to learn about it, and then once you learn about it, then it's your responsibility to, you know, just pull yourself back and just say, all right, do I need this person in my life? Do I need this situation in my life? And then just, all right, just let it go.
Well, it's funny, like the whole China flu thing here now, it's revealed character on a lot of people. Yeah. And some people I was shocked by that, not necessarily I was friends with, but knew of. I'm like, man, you just revealed yourself. You know, in good times, everybody can be great and your friend and happy. And, you know, when times are a little shitty, the character's going to get revealed. It's just going to show. Good, you know, the good times don't reveal too much. It's the bad times when you're around people and you go, I still want to be around this guy.
Yeah, well, that's why SEAL training isn't held at Disney World.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's why they put you through the ringer. So you're like, all right,
right.
Yeah, can you keep her cool? All right, you're good then. You know, we're coming up on an hour and some form of minutes here. Hour 20. Any final thoughts? Say again where they can find your Total Fitness.
It is Total Fitness 360 _online.
Okay. And that's on Instagram.
And that is on Instagram. Website to come, but start following us, and we offer a lot of good information. You'll really enjoy them. And may I say, Jonathan, it's always a pleasure talking with you in these extended conversations, Mike or not. Once again, I've learned something. You get to and it's important that you get to talk to somebody about things that are important to you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us don't get that opportunity. I do with Jonathan pretty often now, and it's therapeutic and it's healthy for everybody. So if you get an opportunity, pick someone you love, pick someone you know real well, and just pick each other's brains. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, I remember with one of my best friends. I forgot where I was or what we were doing. I didn't talk to him in months. Picked up the phone, called him, had a 4-hour-long conversation.
Yeah, you can pick it.
Yeah.
With certain people, you can pick it up like if you don't see someone for 10 years, you can pick it up like they just walked out the door.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if I never see you in 10 years, Greg, I don't know how it's going to be. The prayers have been answered. All right, folks. Well, this has been The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. Thanks, Greg. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, brother.
Yep. All right. Take care, folks.